Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning, despite it being Monday. And I hope everyone had a great weekend and having a great start to the new week out there. Here to break down a few things in this morning's video. The first thing we'll speak on is this storm system on the way. Now, there is a storm system going across the middle of the country right now as I speak, and we will speak on that right at the beginning of the video, just because it does link into what's going to happen over the next several days. But it's really what comes after this storm system, the punch of cold air with it, and snow across the eastern U.S. Some areas have already seen snow, the first snow of the season. Some areas will get their first snow of the season. So we'll speak on that. We'll get detail. We'll compare model guidance about how much snow the models are showing, even give my personal opinion on things, and we'll get very detailed on that, zoom into individual areas after we get done discussing that. Folks, I'm already watching a lot of cold air that could come down to the lower 48 as we round off this month, maybe even get into the first few days of December. I'm not going to get super detailed on that, but a lot of long-range model guidance points to a dump of cold air from the true Arctic source down through Canada all the way down to the lower 48. So we're going to speak on that. We'll get more and more detailed on that if model guidance continues to show it in the days to come, but don't want to get overly detailed on it right now, as we are still pretty much in the middle to later portion of November. After we get done discussing that, of course, I got you covered as far as what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Monday. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling on this wonderful Monday morning. So this is the storm system that's kind of kick-starting the pattern, if you will. Not a lot of cold air associated with this. In fact, there's more severe weather than any kind of winter weather right now. We got severe thunderstorm warnings across Oklahoma, even a ongoing tornado warning. Just a line of storms. This will continue to create the opportunity for some severe weather today, even into tomorrow a little bit. So this is just a big plume of rain that's moving north to northeast across the middle of the country. So this is kind of the first storm system at the beginning of our pattern change. We also got energy out in the Pacific Northwest, the Northern Rockies. This is more so scattered about, but I'm showing you this for a reason. I'm about to tell you why here in a second. But we do still have some leftover energy across the Northeast. So I want you to kind of visualize this, kind of keep it in your head. Energy right here, a big plume of energy too, a lot of rain. It is showing some pink here. I don't think that's falling as any kind of winter weather, but a lot of energy right here in the form of rain, even some strong to severe storms. And then we just got scattered energy right here. So let's move forward. Let's look at the upper pattern. All right, when you compare what you just saw with this, darker shade of blue here, darker shade of blue here, lighter shade of blue here. What does the blue mean if you're a first time listener or maybe didn't understand when I explained it in the past? The blue colors, lower pressure, which means unsettled weather energy. Whether that's energy snow, whether it's rain, something in between, that's what it is, lower pressure, okay? The red or orange, warmer colors you see on your screen, that's high pressure. Ridge, typically you get calmer conditions, warmer than average temperatures, whether it's well above average, slightly above average, around average. That's what you get. And it actually makes sense. You see this area of upper energy here, this blue. If you actually compare that with even this, I mean, check it out. There's the energy associated with that little light shade of blue. So it makes sense. You got this, this, and this. And somebody made a good point in the comments yesterday. Some people just listen to my videos, so I'll try to mention areas as I speak. But this energy is in the Pacific Northwest. This energy is hanging out in the South Central U.S. And then this energy is hanging out in, Southeast Canada, the Northeast. So you can actually see it when you kind of compare it with this, with the actual radar, pretty darn well. So we continue to go, and I'm going to get this all in motion. As we continue to move into Tuesday, this storm system will move across the middle of the country. It'll link up with a little bit of cold air from our energy entering the Pacific Northwest right now. But we do lose that storm system as it plows right into a pretty strong ridge up in Canada. And then the pattern evolves. And then this area in blue, this upper trough, which kind of turns into an upper low as it gets cut off from this ridge that builds into Canada and then builds to the west right here. This thing starts to bring some unsettled weather. Now, this is getting into Wednesday evening. This blue could bring just scattered rain and snow showers. And then as it dives into the eastern U.S., as we're getting into Thursday, this is just going to bring a lot of unsettled weather across the eastern U.S. Now, just because you're under this blue does not mean you're getting something falling from the sky. Okay, just unsettled weather. There's this energy in the atmosphere that can be worked with. It causes lift, and you have the opportunity for it. You got areas of energy kind of pinwheeling around this area in blue. Like I'm just going to draw X's, energy here, maybe energy there, energy here, and this is all rotating cyclonically like this, okay? Just like when we talk about in the tropics, okay? And then we got energy associated with the immediate upper low right here. So if this can hang out for a while and the cold air is there, then we can have scattered rain and even snow showers. In this case, especially in the higher elevations, an opportunity for mountain snow. And maybe you don't even have to be really high up to get this. And we get into Friday, and this kind of hangs out with us for a while, and then it departs and heads on out. Okay. Now, what does this mean to the surface? Let's speak on the central U.S. first. Okay, we're going to start off this morning. This storm system will screech across the middle of the country. We start to get into Tuesday. And then the far northwest side, this starts to link up with a little bit of cold air, and we start to get some accumulating snow up in North Dakota as we're getting especially into tomorrow afternoon. And then that storm heads on out, weakens over Canada, north of the Great Lakes area. You see the 540 line moving across the middle of the country. Cold air starts to move into the picture, energy associated with it because of the lower pressure showing up in blue that we just showed you. And then, we start to get into Wednesday afternoon. Look at this scattered light and moderate snow moving across the upper Midwest. Minnesota, Wisconsin, getting into the Great Lakes region. We start to get into Thursday morning. And then this becomes more of a storyline just for the eastern U.S., okay? And we're going to show you more of the Great Lakes region here in a second. But as you can tell at the corner of your screen, it does show the Great Lakes region getting some snow into Thursday, even into Friday. We'll show you that here in a second. But really the storyline for the central U.S. is the rainstorm moving across the middle of the country right now, and then a little bit of snow up here in like North Dakota, even Minnesota, I would say Tuesday into Wednesday more so. And, you're talking about the rainfall, and some of this rain's already moving into Kansas now. But between now and the next 3 days, Omaha, this is really the next 24 hours. An inch and a half of rain, Lincoln, inch and a quarter. We get up into Iowa, Waterloo. This is Iowa here, anywhere from an inch to an inch and a half. And this is really precipitation, I should add. I need to reiterate that because some of this could fall in the form of snow, especially once you get up here in northern Minnesota. Fargo, you could get inch and a half of precipitation. Some of that could be rain, and then just the lake enhancement off the far western end of Lake Superior, maybe a few inches of rain, and even some rain, even into Chicago area. So hopefully you can see your area. I'm still trying to figure out the borders because weather-wise is phenomenal, by the way. You can, edit the colors of the borders. I might switch it to blue. So any kind of advice on what you think the better colors as far as the borders and the town names you think will be, because I can literally switch it to any color. And I think this will be an awesome site to use in the months to come and just the years to come. But just got to figure out the right colors to use for this. But this is rainfall. A lot of it coming over the next 3 days for sure. And then the snowy side, this is just between now and Wednesday evening. Could add up to a little bit more, especially in Minnesota, Wisconsin. But several inches of snow is likely now, is forecast. In the northern half of North Dakota. Even over a half a foot, maybe even 8, 9, 10 inches in the far northern sections of these counties right here in North Dakota. A few inches of wet snow is possible in northwest areas of Minnesota, and they are even calling for a dusting to a half an inch all the way down to the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. A little bit of snow they're calling for, accumulating snow into northeast areas of South Dakota also. So some of these areas will get their first accumulating snow of the season. For some areas, this might not be, but you get what I'm saying. So let's go on and switch it to the eastern U.S. This is a heavy topic here, and we're getting into Tuesday afternoon. This is where we're going to start off. We got the remnants of Sarah down here, bringing some moisture to the southeast, the deep south. Not a huge storyline. Once upon a time, it could have been, but it's not anymore, thank goodness. But we're getting into Wednesday morning. All right, a little bit of rain shower, light rain activity across the southeast. Not a big storyline there. We're getting into Wednesday evening. Punch of cold air moving down. See the 540 line? That means we got cold air aloft above our heads. And then we get into Thursday morning, okay? Rain starts to switch to snow in the interior New England area. Look at the snow up here in the UP and Michigan. Thursday morning, lower Michigan getting some lake enhanced energy, and then our upper low hanging out down here. Little pieces of upper energy flying around this low. You can see it well right here. I'm going to try to draw on this a little bit. Let's use pink. Okay, upper low might be somewhere around here. Look at this little surface low right here. These little areas of energy flying around. It actually shows it well on this depiction here. These little inner pieces of energy kind of flying around this upper low. And then energy associated with the actual immediate upper low. So get this back off. Keep rolling here. All right, we start to get into Friday morning. Here comes the energy diving down to Ohio. This is when it can get interesting for the Ohio Valley and obviously the state of Ohio all the way down to West Virginia. Friday morning, we could get some snow flying around in eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, the mountains of Virginia, and certainly all the way to the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. And I will say this, short-range models like to come in a little bit more aggressive when they come into range. So we're going to watch that. But you got two areas of energy flying around this actual upper low. And, I mean, check this out. I mean, we got heavy interior New England snow flying around here. And this could definitely be accumulating snow. Your first significant snow event of the season is possible with this. And then check out the snow Friday afternoon, diving down all the way down to the Smokies. Okay, and this has, trended in the other direction as far as a lot of snow for like the Smokies, for example, which is kind of a bummer in my opinion because I'm going to Gatlinburg right outside the Smokies Friday. So I'm really hoping to see just some flakes flying around, maybe just even the Smokies kind of white capped up there. Really hoping for that. But anyways, but check out the moderate snow as far south as the mountains of Virginia, West Virginia, and then look at the heavy interior New England snow flying around. Okay, and then we start getting to Saturday. This starts to let up a little bit. We get into Sunday. We still got energy hanging around, and then that's all she wrote. Okay. What about the Euro? Now, there is a new Euro that goes all the way out to 144 hours out, so it should show most of the entirety of the run. Here comes the initial push of rain with the energy out ahead of the trough. This will bring some light rain across the eastern U.S. Not a big storyline. And then main push of energy comes in with the cold front. A lot of rain starts to fall. Not a lot of cold air yet. And then some cold air starts to mix in. And by Thursday morning, look at the rain switching to snow in areas of lower Michigan. A little bit up here in the UP also. Rain switching to snow in, PA, the southern tier of New York. And then, once again, Thursday could be the wild day. Enough cold air aloft, just above the surface. Okay, temperatures, below freezing, about 4,000 to 6,000 feet above our head in this area because you're underneath the immediate, the best dynamics. Okay, cold air aloft. It looks weird, I know. You're thinking, why is it raining in southern Ontario, lower Michigan, but snowing like crazy in Ohio, western PA, and West Virginia? It's because you're situated under better dynamics, upper dynamics, better cold air aloft. It could be 35 degrees down here and 35 degrees up here, and you're probably wondering, why is it raining in one area, snowing in the other? It's because it's colder above your heads, and that makes all the difference. But you keep going here, and it shows just an all-out snowstorm for a period across the central Alps, even areas of Ohio, and then that energy finally makes it and tries to dive down all the way to the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, for example, Virginia. The big question for you folks down here is how much does this trough dig? Does it trend a little bit deeper? If it does, then you'll get some snow all the way down here and, the Smokies. I think you will regardless. But, we're waking up Friday morning, it's snowing, as far south as kind of just outside of Boone, maybe in Boone. Not as much cold air associated in New England with this storm system. It stays up really rain unless you're in the higher up elevations. But, the northwest flow action continues in the highlands of West Virginia. It continues to snow most of the weekend. So, how much snow could fall off this? Let's start off by looking at the Midwest, Upper Midwest, Great Lakes region. This is the GFS ensemble, okay? Going for a couple inches in northern Wisconsin. I'm not going to mention every single area on each map here. Hopefully, most of you are watching. I understand some people have some headphones in. They just can listen. It's hard to mention every single state and every single graphic, or we'd be here even longer than we already are, right? But a couple inches of snow showing up in the favored areas in lower Michigan. It does show a dusting as far south as Chicago, Indianapolis, but that doesn't mean we're going to get one. Okay. What about, say, the Euro ensemble? Okay. This is what you're looking at. Dusting, and this fits in with the National Weather Service forecast in Minneapolis, a dusting to maybe a half an inch, maybe an inch in Minneapolis area. And just a dusting across the upper and Midwest. But the Euro ensemble goes pretty crazy for Ohio, folks. I mean, it's going for a few inches of wet snow. So, I mean, pretty wild stuff, right? And then you look at the more conservative, which I think you should more so tip your hat to, the blend of all models. Okay? This is about the closest thing that you can get to the National Weather Service forecast outside of the National Weather Service forecast range. If that makes sense. And going for just scattered dusting amounts. I mean, some areas over an inch. But I mean, it even gives you accumulating snow, even down all the way down to Ohio. So yeah. And then we kind of book it down a little bit further south, showing the southern and central Apps. GFS ensemble does show still a heavy hitter for West Virginia. Several inches of wet snow. There is a signal all the way down to the Smokies for just a little bit, like a touch of snow. You even got a signal here in far northeast Tennessee, the Tri-Cities areas. I mean, you live in lower elevations, the valley. I think it is possible to get some snowflakes. Accumulations, cancel schools, absolutely not. But yeah, we'll watch it. Eastern Kentucky, I would watch in this setup, especially in far northeast Kentucky. But West Virginia, Ohio, check this out. Check it out. Western PA, a lot of snow. And what about the Euro ensemble? This is typically more the conservative model, but it really goes crazy with this. All right, it wants to dump almost 2 feet of snow in some of the most favored areas in the higher elevations of West Virginia. And it does keep that signal all the way down to the Smokies of about an inch or so of snow. But man, once you get into northern, like the I would say up near Boone, Banner, Elk area, Roan Mountain, going for the 2 to 3 inch snowfall mean. More into Virginia, look at Ohio, look at Western PA. I mean, pretty solid snow signal, right? And then the blend of all models. That's even aggressive. Listen, the blend of all models is going for over 2.5 feet of snow for the favored areas of West Virginia. This could definitely be a big event. The blend of all models is consistent on more snow falling in, say, the Smokies, for example, than what a lot of other model guidance is showing. And typically, that's something you need to watch out for when the short-range model guidance comes in. But doesn't show a hefty event for Ohio, Kentucky, or anything like that, even Indiana. But it does show, if this was to happen, it would be enough to maybe make the ground white for a period. And it really does a great job, I think, showing the favored higher elevations. Okay, and then I want to obviously show my friends up here in the Northeast, and I don't have a frame pulled up for that, so we're going to do this on the fly here. But the GEFS ensemble for you folks up in the Northeast, and this is all the way through this is about a week, okay? Big event showing up for the interior New England area on the GFS ensemble. Adirondacks, the Catskills, even into the Berkshires, showing snow, Green and White Mountains. So, obviously at the I-95 corridor, it just doesn't look like an event for you guys. Way too much warm air. You just need a connection to the cold air to the north, and you're just not going to get that with this setup. But, you look at, say, the EPS up here. Let's move this forward all the way to next Monday. Not as crazy as the GFS ensemble, but still shows a lot of heavy snow. Especially, I would say the Euro ensemble really likes West Virginia and the Allegheny Mountains. It really does. It favors that more than anything. And then, of course, the blend of all models. We'll show you that. Let's go down here in time. And I think it does a great job showing the higher elevated regions being favored in a setup like this. A really good job. And I would lean towards this for now until something looks different. Okay? So, moving forward here, as far as temperatures, I haven't mentioned this. Once upon a time, this looked like it could bring some really, really cold air. Now, it is still going to probably bring some of the coldest air of the season, especially for the southeast, but nothing too crazy. We look at Wednesday, we got a little bit of warm air surge ahead of this trough, so, low temperatures only in the 50s and 60s for areas of the southeast. Cold front moves in, cold air moves in. and you start to get low temperatures, well into the 30s, all the way down into Alabama, North Georgia, even into the Carolinas. And then we look at Friday morning. It's just going to be a downright chilly morning. It's going to be a chilly ride for me and my family as we head to the mountains Friday morning. That's the way I like it. But it just feels more seasonal, guys. It does. But definitely some chilly air across the middle of the country. Lows getting deep down into the mid to low 20s. Nothing too crazy for this time of the year. The cold air it really isn't the really impressive part of this. And of course, we get into Saturday morning, still a cold morning, and then temperatures begin to moderate though after that. But you know, it's really the dynamics of the system coming up. So next thing I'll show you, and we'll have to speed this up because we're spending a lot of time on this. The pattern coming up looks interesting. It's not, you know, we've dissected the heck out of the pattern that we're going to get this week, right, into this weekend. What happens after that? I don't know what happens. All I know is things look pretty wild, right? You know, we get in the GFS, and we're going to start this for this coming weekend, all right? We continue to move forward. All right, we get into next, I would say this is Sunday evening. We got a system flying down with some cold air oozing down to the northern states of the lower 48. Okay, this system kind of, you know, glides across the U.S.-Canadian border. Not sure if that's the way it'll happen, but we'll watch it. Cold air oozes in a little bit of south. Okay, now we start to get into, this is far out, I know, 9-10 days out. Like not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, the Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve. Okay, look at this snowstorm. This would wreak havoc on Thanksgiving travel plans. Look at this snowstorm across the middle of the country. Okay, it doesn't quite, you know, affect the big cities like Chicago, Detroit, anything like that. But Minneapolis, if this was to happen, this is something we watch. This flies through, and then we'll get past the 10-day mark. And when you see the blue lines right here and the isobars begin to tighten up like this tells us you got some sort of, in the winter, an Arctic boundary. And then we get this huge dump of cold air into the middle of the country 2 weeks from today. Now, it's not a forecast, but listen, model guidance keeps flirting with the idea of this. And you look at the Euro, we'll start off like the evening of the 25th, right? 26th, 27th, cold air boundary setting up over the middle of the country. This is getting into Thanksgiving Eve. Systems flying around. You notice you don't see that big winter storm in this area like you do on the GFS. And that's normal. You're going to see model differences at this range. But then, you know, you start to get into past 10 days, and this is getting into the weekend after Thanksgiving. We start to see a lot of moving parts out here. And then a big dump of cold air moves in. Now, I don't know how the storm systems are going to act. What I do know is, and I don't know this for sure, is if we start this a week from today, okay, maybe a little bit before that, here comes our leftover trough and our upper low that kind of moves away. Ridge starts to move back into the eastern U.S. I don't think this is going to bring record-breaking warm temperatures or anything, but you see kind of the warmer colors right here. And then you see the blue colors. What I want you to look here is, this is what you call a cross-polar flow. And you look at it and you say, okay, there's blue connecting this with this. Okay, and let's use a different color. Okay, so there's a connection here. This tells me that we have a true source of Arctic air dumping down into the lower 48. We got a spike of this ridge. Ridge is starting to spike up to Alaska, but this cold air is really dumping into the central to western U.S. That could change. Either way, you got a big time cold air push flow all the way down to the lower 48. Anytime you have a ridge spike into Alaska, this kind of dislodges cold air from the Arctic. Sometimes on like 3 different sections of the globe too, but it's not just the lower 48. But this continues, and this is the GFS ensemble. And then we go about 10 days out. And listen, this is going to change, but this screams an Arctic outbreak getting into, like, not this week, but next week. That's not Mitch saying there's going to be one, but holy smokes, this is a huge dump of cold air, you know, even inside the 10-day mark. I mean, this is coming down, everywhere. Everywhere. The entire lower 48 will get a lot of cold air off this. Okay, this is probably the strongest signal yet of this. So very interesting stuff. Now, ridge does start to flex in the southeast after that. We're going to be fighting that, folks. If we live in whoever lives in the southeast, which is me, we're going to be fighting the nudge of the southeast all winter. It's just going to be there all winter. Okay, but somebody's going to get something crazy around Thanksgiving week, in my opinion. Okay, and of course you compare that with the Euro Ensemble. Let's see. It's a little bit different, but it's the same thing in a way. We have a connection, even though it's not as there, I would say, a connection from the Arctic. But it's definitely a lot different, I would say, than the GFS Ensemble, as you have a big-time southeast ridge flexing in kind of the 10 to 14 day range. So, you know, at the end of the day, the GFS Ensemble is much more aggressive, but man, does it start to ooze some cold air down to the lower 48. You know, we start to get into the 10-day mark, and cold air begins to take over the majority of the country. And it's just something we watch because the Euro Ensemble, you know, it's totally different at this range. Let's go 300 hours out. It does show that cold air into, you know, the northern portion of the country, the Rockies, but man, it's well above average into the eastern U.S. because of that nudge in the southeast ridge. So that's all I got. You know, it's a mouthful. There's a lot to discuss, and you know, I got my mountain trip coming up this weekend into early next week, and I'm definitely thinking about bringing my laptop because I just want to keep you guys aware because it could be, you know, certainly a crazy week next week, potentially. Watches, warnings, and advisories for today. We got winter storm watches ahead of the several inch snowfall event for northern North Dakota. We got high wind watches. We got flood watches up in the green. We got you know, some severe thunderstorm watches here in the yellow. I think that's tornado watches. I'm sorry, tornado watches. A lot of winter weather alerts across the western U.S. Winter weather advisories in the purple. Winter storm watches in the teal color. Winter storm warnings in the pink. So a lot going on. Excessive rainfall outlook. We do have a slight risk for southeast Louisiana, southern Mississippi. This means down here we have a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles of a given location. And then, of course, we look at the severe weather outlook for today. We do have that slight risk. And this is really for what's going on right now, folks. Slight risk, level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather, Oklahoma City down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And, 5% risk of a tornado. And this is a threat right now. Wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour in this area. And then the hail threat, not much of one today. Maybe up here a little bit more. So, southeast today, pretty quiet day. Now, moisture will be on the increase. You'll feel it in the air as our storm system is approaching. But the immediate southeast, not a whole lot. Look at the energy that we'll talk about for the south central U.S. that begins to move into Mississippi later this evening. Rain moving across the Mississippi River Valley. And just a surge of rain overnight into southeast Louisiana. As you can tell, this is after midnight. And then we start to get a lot of rain that moves into Alabama as we're waking up tomorrow morning with an enhancement from the remnants of Sarah down here. Now, the Northeast, we're getting some showers this morning. We'll continue to get the possibility for some showers throughout the day into this afternoon, this evening. Not a big deal, really at all. And then our storm system begins to approach from the west. But today, just some showers in the interior New England area, not a big story. The south central U.S., these storms will kind of be a one punch here. They'll kind of move in, move out, and then that's it. But as we're moving throughout the morning, these storms will make their way through, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the line of storms could weaken. We'll get this actual surface low ejecting across Kansas. This could bring an opportunity for some more storms across southern Kansas, maybe even a tornado threat in southern Kansas later today. We'll watch for that. Some thunderstorms are possible down here as they develop in the far extreme eastern areas of Texas this afternoon into western Louisiana. These could pack a punch, and we continue to move into the evening hours, and all the energy begins to move into Mississippi. So definitely be aware of the severe weather threats for these areas today. And we have a pretty large marginal risk too, all the way to the Kansas City, Topeka area. So a big area that has a threat of severe weather. And even that threat gets into tomorrow and even day 3. I didn't even realize this. We have a marginal risk for Columbia up to the Greensboro, Raleigh area. Didn't even realize that. It's pretty wild. Tells me it's hard to keep track of all of it. But the north central U.S., Rain begins to enter the picture, a washout across the entire state of Iowa, the eastern half of Nebraska, northern Missouri. Rain begins to move into Chicago this afternoon, Janesville, Milwaukee, Rockford. Rain begins to enter the Minneapolis area, washout conditions this evening. And then the system starts to plow into the ridge, begins to steadily weaken. And we're waking up tomorrow morning with some cold air catching up to the western shield of this rain. And we'll start to mix with some snow and then turn into snow in areas of North Dakota tomorrow. Waking up to just scattered rain showers across the Great Lakes region. No snow with this. That could change later into this week. And then the western U.S., a lot of energy moving into the western U.S. Nothing overly heavy, but just rounds of heavy snow in the Cascades. I mean, even some rain switching to snow in the coastal range, snow across the northern Rockies, a little bit of snow in the higher elevations of Utah, Nevada, the Rockies of Colorado. And then this will continue, and then another big storm comes in. This one could be big, guys. This is going to really add up the snow for the Cascades as we're getting more so into tomorrow. Just snowfall between now and the next day. This is what it looks like. But watch as we start to move a little bit further. Nope, that's not what I want to look at. Okay, this is just between now and Thursday morning, folks. A lot of snow coming for the Pacific Northwest, the higher elevations, and the Rockies. You know, just taking a look at the Rockies here. Oof, start to add up that higher elevation snow. Nothing unusual for the lower elevations, but certainly adding it on up for the higher elevations. I mean, look, even the Olympic Mountains, Cascades, even a little bit in the coastal range, starting to get some snow for sure. This is temperatures for today. Definitely warm air getting pushed all the way up into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. This is temperatures for the western U.S. Definitely colder air out here. Folks, that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. Have a wonderful start to your day, and I'll talk to you soon. God bless.